Well, this is an incredibly damning report by the Ombudsman in relation to the failings by Corrections Victoria over the death of gangland kingpin Carl Williams 2 years ago. Carl Williams was murdered in his Acacia unit cell by his cellmate Matthew Johnson at Barwon Prison in April 2010. He was murdered with a metal bar from an exercise bike. Now, firstly, the Ombudsman is critical of the events of the particular day in question. He says it took 27 minutes for prison staff to even realise that Carl Williams had been killed. He says that 40 prison staff were allowed to enter the particular crime scene after the death, which meant that the crime scene was compromised, and also that the CCTV system in the Acacia unit was unfit for use. Also, the murder weapon, the piece of metal from the exercise bike, a similar piece of equipment had previously been used in a violent incident at the prison before. Even more scathing, though, is the findings relating to the incidents leading up to the death in the months and the year or so before the death. Carl Williams was a key witness for police who were investigating a murder. The key suspect in that murder was a former police officer. Carl Williams initially wanted to share his cell with Matthew Johnson, but the Ombudsman details events over 2009 and 2010, which meant that the dynamic between the two prisoners changed, particularly that Matthew Johnson was known for having an intense hatred of police informants. There was an email, critically, which was sent to the Department of Justice Secretary Penny Armitage 15 months before Carl Williams was killed, which went through a risk assessment of placing the two prisoners together. That risk assessment said that there was a serious risk to the safety of Carl Williams if he and Johnson were in the same cell. Despite that warning, it was ignored, and the Department of Corrections instead took advice from Victoria Police that it would be okay for the two prisoners to be in the same cell. The Ombudsman also is critical of the culture of the Acacia unit, saying that there was allowed to be sexually suggestive images exchanged between staff and also violent images. So in all, it's an incredibly scathing report by the Ombudsman in relation to Corrections Victoria and the events that led up to the death of Carl Williams.